Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on today's video and welcome to my channel. Today's story is a very interesting one. It's one of those from r/wedding shaming. I really enjoy wedding videos because I feel like wedding stories are some of the most comical and entertaining ones that I've read so far. Anyways, this one's kind of heartbreaking, but it does end on a positive note in the update, so stay tuned for that to find out. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do, please leave a thumbs up. And before I move on to the story, I just wanted to thank all of my current subscribers. Thank you so much, you guys are so amazing. If you do enjoy this video, especially towards the end, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as it really helps me grow. Anyways, thank you so much for your time and onto the story. My best friend from childhood invited me to her wedding, but forgot to assign me a seat. I spent the night alone in a separate room. My childhood best friend, a 23-year-old female, got married this weekend and I was so excited to be there to support her on her big day. As a chocolatier, the bride asked me if I could create the wedding favors and dessert table. I was ecstatic to help with the wedding and went above and beyond to create a gorgeous table that was a huge hit on the wedding day. Early on, I was told that the wedding was over budget, and to keep costs low, my boyfriend was not invited. I was extremely understanding and even reduced my rates for the suite table as my present to the couple. A couple of weeks later, after reviewing the guest list, the bride informed me that my boyfriend could come as my +1, but if he did, I would be moved from the head table. My boyfriend is a wedding photographer who wants to build his videography portfolio. Knowing that the couple didn't have a videographer, he offered to film a professional wedding video free of charge. The bride was ecstatic and offered to move us to the vendor table so that we could network with other vendors. We loved the idea, and it was confirmed that we would be sitting with the vendors. The day of the wedding, we arrived 4 hours early to help with the event. My boyfriend spent the time filming while I set up the dessert table and helped the event coordinator set the dinner tables. After the ceremony, the guests were moved to the cocktail room while the original room was converted to the room for the reception. While helping convert the room, I noticed that our names were not on the seating chart. I asked the event coordinator where we would be sitting and she said, "Good question," and left to find out. She came back to say that there was no vendor table and that if we were staying for dinner, my boyfriend and I would have to sit in a separate room as we were not on the list. The room was closed off from the reception, so we couldn't hear or see anything, let alone talk to anybody. I told the event coordinator that we were guests and that we should be moved into the reception room. The event coordinator herself was seated at one of the tables in the room. I told her that I was a long-term friend of the bride and was originally meant to be seated at the head table. However, the event coordinator said that she couldn't do anything about it. I approached the bride to explain the situation. She mentioned that it was definitely a mix-up and that we should be in the room. The bride mentioned that she didn't want to undermine me as a businesswoman, so she never told the event coordinator that we were friends or that I was a guest. She left the coordination of the vendor table to the event coordinator and left it off of the seating chart. The event coordinator was not made aware of any of the vendors beside herself and the MC were staying for the reception, and therefore didn't think to add us in. Although I understand the mix-up, the bride did nothing to get us moved to the main room. My boyfriend and I were cut off from the reception with no one to speak to, no way to see or hear anything, and even had to ask to be fed. As a result, I missed the entire wedding and spent the majority of the evening crying in the bathroom, waiting to move the dessert table into the main room after dinner so that we could leave. My boyfriend continued to film everything as he was committed to getting a beautiful video for his portfolio. The next morning, I emailed the bride about the experience. She apologized profusely and said that she was scatterbrained on the day and didn't think to do anything about it. Although she feels extremely guilty, she would still like to be friends. While I would like to forgive her, I'm still extremely hurt. After reading everyone's responses and doing some reflecting, I've come to the conclusion that she's not really my friend. Our relationship in the past few months has mostly consisted of her blowing me off and me interpreting it as though she was busy. She moved across the country 2 years ago but flies here often. Most of the couple's friends and family still live here, which is why they decided to have their wedding here. Every time she comes to visit, we've tried to make plans which would end with me being blown off. The excuse was always that some last-minute thing came up, which is why she didn't have time to see me. She called me months before her engagement party to let me know that I would be invited to it, but I was never actually invited. I responded to pictures of it online saying, "Gorgeous," and she explained that I wasn't invited because her mother-in-law planned it and didn't know her friends. Moral of the story, the only time I've seen her within the past year was to do a free tasting for her wedding after she mentioned that she would not finalize her order without a tasting. We had plans to meet up the same week as the tasting, which she blew. I reread her apologetic email and interpreted it differently the second time. The email mainly follows the structure of excuse followed by, but that's not an excuse. In one section, she wrote that although she would still like to be friends, she understands that I may not want to, and that's fine. To me, it seemed as though she was saying that she wouldn't care if we were to no longer be friends. At the end of the email, she added, "P.S. We would still like the video," despite making it a point prior to the wedding to let my boyfriend and me know that she couldn't care less about the wedding video. Although she mentioned in her email that she would make it up to me, I haven't heard a word from her since I responded back to her email, naively accepting the apology the day after the wedding. I watched my boyfriend's rough edit of the wedding video this week and listened to her speech. She added a section where she thanked her friends for transcending the lines of friends and family. She called out a long list of names from the friend group. Mine wasn't included, which sealed the deal for me, especially since I was so involved in the preparation of the wedding that she wouldn't have just forgotten my name. Moving forward, I will be a lot more cautious with my circle, and I'll definitely be stricter with doing business with friends. No more paying out of pocket. My boyfriend has agreed to not go out of his way to send her the video. If she asks for it, he will send a link to a shortened version on his website. I couldn't convince him to add a watermark, although that was my favorite solution. Thanks everyone for your recommendations. So we'll see if she comes around in a month or so. I will definitely not be reaching out. So guys, what did you think about this? Please let me know in the comments down below. I personally feel really bad for OP. I cannot imagine having to go through that. It would be so embarrassing and so humiliating, and not to mention the fact that she was probably very hurt given that she considered this woman her best friend. But I'm so glad that she finally sort of woke up to reality after this event. Like, under no circumstances should anyone be okay with someone treating them like that. Like, no. I feel like in this circumstance, the bride never really thought about OP at any stage. And also, I really want to blame the event coordinator here. Like, how hard would it have been to find 2 seats for these people? Like, what? I don't know. I just find that really weird. Even if it was in the corner in the room, it still would have been okay. It would have been a little bit awkward for that table, but it still would have been better than whatever it is that they did. I don't know. Anyways, what did you guys think about this? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you did like this, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a thumbs up. And please subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories from Reddit with updates.